130 years ago, Ethiopians from every corner of this country came together at Adwa. They came from different communities, they spoke different languages, they carried different traditions, but they understood something fundamental. There are moments when what unites us must become more powerful than what separates us. They organized, they prepared, they stood together, and they prevailed. Adwa was an Ethiopian victory, but its meaning became African. It told a continent, and eventually the world, that Africans could defend their dignity and determine their own future. Today we gather in the hall that carries that memory. Our struggle is different, but the principle endures. Today, sovereignty is also the ability to protect the health of our people. It is the ability to care for a mother without depending on a supply chain thousands of kilometers away. It is the ability to produce the medicines our children need. It is the ability to train and retain our health professionals. It is the ability to withstand the next epidemic without waiting for the rest of the world to decide whether Africa will receive what it needs. And it is the ability to build health systems that do more than survive crisis. They must survive our people. They must create opportunity. And they must help drive Africa's prosperity. That's why the theme of this conference, resilience, building the East African health economy, is so timely and so important. Resilience cannot mean simply recovering from the last crisis. It must mean preparing for the next one. It must mean building the capacity to act for ourselves. And it must mean turning health from a story of vulnerability into a source of African strength. Excellencies, Ethiopia's commitment to African unity is not new. In 1963, African leaders gathered here in Addis Ababa to establish the Organization of African Unity. They understood that independence for individual nations would remain fragile without institutions through which Africa could act together. The conviction helped give birth of the African Union. It made Addis Ababa the diplomatic capital of our continent, and it continues to guide us today. Because political sovereignty without productive capacity is incomplete. Health sovereignty without African manufacturing is fragile. And ambition without institutions capable of carrying it forward will remain only ambition. The government of Ethiopia is ready to support the establishment of the continental headquarters of the African Healthcare Federation here in Addis Ababa. We are ready to work with the Federation and the relevant institutions on the consultations, legal arrangements, and practical steps necessary to make this possible. There is a simple reason. Africa's private health sector deserves a strong continental platform. A platform close to the African Union and African CDC. A platform where governments and businesses can meet not occasionally, but continuously. Where policy can meet investment. Where innovation can meet scale. And where African solutions can find African markets. Addis Ababa is ready to provide that home. For Ethiopia, building the health economy will require action on several fronts. Let me focus on three of them. First, we will work to make Addis Ababa a leading African destination for specialized health care and medical tourism. Every year, African families travel enormous distances in search of treatment. They spend resources that could strengthen health systems and create jobs here on our continent. Africa has outstanding doctors. We have talented nurses, scientists, and entrepreneurs. We have a growing market and a young population. What we need is to connect that talent with world-class institutions, technology, investment, and standards. Ethiopia will therefore continue to encourage investment in centers of excellence, specialized and tertiary hospitals, advanced diagnostics, accreditation, and high-quality patient care. Addis Ababa has important advantages: a growing healthcare, a strong hospitality base, continental institutions, and one of the African greatest aviation networks, Ethiopian Airlines. But connectivity alone will not make us a medical destination. Quality will, patient safety will, trust will. That must be our standard. And to the hospital groups, investors, insurers, universities, and health institutions in this room, all over the world, I say, come and build with us. Second, we must manufacture more of what Africa needs in Africa. The pandemic exposed a hard truth. When the world is under pressure, dependence becomes vulnerability. When supply chain break, the countries without productive capacity wait. And when product in question is a vaccine, a diagnostic, a medicine, or a medical device, waiting has a human cost. Africa cannot accept permanent dependence for the essentials of life. Ethiopia therefore intends to expand local manufacturing of pharmaceutical, diagnostics, medical equipment, and essential health products. We'll invest in industrial infrastructure, regulation, skills, quality assurance, research, and technology transfer. But no African country should have to build this future alone. Our national markets are often too small. Together, our markets is vast. That is why regulatory harmonization matters. We pooled procurement matters. Why African continental free trade area matters. And why regional integration is not an abstract political aspiration. It is an economic necessity. Our goal should be clear: products made in Africa, to African standards, for African patients, and competitive anywhere in the world. Third, we will deepen partnership between government and the private sector. Government cannot outsource its responsibility for public health. This is true. But government cannot build the health economy alone. The public sector brings stewardship, equity, and the responsibility to protect the public interest. The private sector brings capital, technology, innovation, and operational capability. Neither replaces the other. Both need the other. Our task is, therefore, not to debate whether the public or private sector should lead. Our task is to build a system in which each does what it does best, and both are accountable for results. Ethiopia will continue strengthening structured dialogue with the private health sector, but dialogue must lead somewhere: to investable projects, to strong institutions, to better service, to more affordable care, and ultimately to healthier people. The same is true across our region. This does not stop at a border. Supply chain do not stop at a border. Our cooperation cannot stop there either. Investment does not stop at a border. We need an East African that can share market, recognize standards, strengthen referral systems, prepare jointly for emergencies, and develop its health workforce together. This conference should help build that East Africa. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the success of this conference will not be measured by that happens inside this hall. it will be measured by that happens because we were in this hall, by the factories built, by the hospitals strengthened, by the technologies scaled, by the medicines produced, by the partnerships sustained, and ultimately by the lives improved and the lives saved. 130 years ago, Adwa taught us what Africans can achieve when purpose is joined with organization, courage with preparation, and conviction with action. That lesson belongs not only to our past, it belongs to today and our future. The generation of Adwa defended Africa's right to determine its destiny. Our generation must build Africa's capacity to secure it. Let us build an East African that does not merely endure the next health crisis, but it is ready for it. An East African that does not merely consume health innovation, but creates it. An East African that does not export its patient and import nearly everything required to treat them, but increasingly cares for its people and produces what they need. And an African whose health, dignity, and prosperity are increasingly secured by the strength of its own institutions, its own people, and its partnership with the world. This is the resilience we should build. This is a health economy we should create. And that is work worthy of this whole. With great pride, and on behalf of the government of Ethiopia, I hereby declare the 13th East African Healthcare Federation Conference and International Health Exhibition officially open.